This is me reading through the discussion description. You really should listen to the intro that's below here because it's going to impact how you engage with the assignment. But I did want to cut the snuff, so I don't do all that here. Boiled down, it says, I feel bad for you all, sad for you all. I want to tackle one thing that could help make this remote learning thing work better for you all. And in the process, we're going to use UDL to help us do a barrier analysis of our class's current online discussion format. And hopefully we'll come up with some viable ways to reduce or eliminate barriers that we identify that have been created by our online discussion structure and format. First place we want to start is, what goals do online discussions target? In other words, why do I have you do them? A number of reasons. The first is they promote students exchanging ideas in conversation and building understanding together, learning together. The second is they provide you all one of several touch points throughout the week with class content. And that comes from the idea that just once a week, just not enough. You have too much going on week to week to remember anything from week to week. So the goal is to provide a couple touch points. The third is to provide a particular structure, the online discussion format, that's beneficial for some students when you compare it to face-to-face conversations. And there's all kinds of reasons that could be the case. For example, the deliberate nature of online discussions can allow folks time to process things. It's also true that the complexities of instantaneous, like being face-to-face, can either induce anxiety or distract or a couple of other things, many other things. So it's another format for that. I'd like this week's discussion to follow the same format as usual. You'll be in small groups that will also be one of your Zoom breakout groups. We're going to have 2 on Thursday. And what will you discuss? Well, discussions. Specifically, each one of you, each individual, is going to do a barrier analysis of the current format for online discussions. Each group, prior to class, is going to try to decide on an idea that's going to reduce barriers that exist, that have been created by the online discussion format, barriers between you and your optimal learning or intended learning. When we're thinking about barriers created by the current online discussion format, everything is up for consideration. And the same is true of potential solutions to those barriers, ways to reduce those barriers. For example, you might identify a barrier like the repetitiveness of the discussion format week to week. You might identify a single means of expression that you've been using, which is writing. It might be the lack of personality just in online asynchronous words. It might be that you're really not that interested in the topics each week, or maybe not in the format it's presented. So, and a gajillion others I didn't think of or write down here at the very least. So that's what it is, and we'll see how it goes. As far as the details of the discussion, for your initial post, you're going to just do a brief barrier analysis of the weekly online discussion format that we've been using. There's a fillable PDF that I'll attach, and if it's helpful, and I'll see if I can pull it up here real quick just to show you what it looks like. Indeed, I can. Not. Oh, there it is. It's this. Let me move my ugly mug out of the way. And it's just, it looks a little different. I've actually included a different box, but it's, you don't have to fill out all 3 of these, but there's an identified, you choose an identified barrier for the format. So if you just don't care about the topics, that's likely going to be in the engagement column. So you would identify what the barrier itself, you'd write a little bit, and then have a potential solution or 2 here. There's also a column that asks you to maintain, identify how your solution maintains the intended learning outcomes for the for online discussion format. Here, I'm getting off track. Yeah, so you can use the fillable PDF. Let me just show it to you real quick. That's here. And again, we're looking to find barriers in the way that we do our online discussions. And you don't have to use this form. And if you do, you'll really, as I mentioned in the assignment, you only need to identify one barrier. Don't do all 3 columns if you don't want to. You're welcome to. But for example, if you identify the barrier that I mentioned, that it's always writing, and that's not good for you, you would probably stick that in the action and expression column, because it's a barrier in terms of how you are asked to express yourself, or how you have been expressing yourself. So back to the regularly scheduled program. So in that barrier analysis of the online discussion, you'll identify a barrier that exists between you and your optimal learning that is created by the way we do our discussions. You're going to suggest an option that could reduce the identified barrier. And importantly, you got to describe how the intended learning outcomes of the online discussions are maintained. And when I say that, I'm talking about these things. How does your solution maintain if we used your solution, would those be maintained? It doesn't have to be too in detail. This is the start of a conversation. In your responses to colleagues, your goal is essentially to get together and narrow it down to 1, possibly 2, but hopefully just 1 option that you're going to present to the rest of the class on Thursday. So decide which of the options presented by your group members that you'll collectively present to the whole class on Thursday. And you will have a little time in breakout groups prior to presenting, while you should still respond to at least 2 colleagues, just like normal discussions this week. Feel free, don't feel pressured, but feel free to try out any of the options of expression that My Courses actually has that you might not know about. So you can insert or edit media, you can record media. Let me see if I can pull something up here that'll show you that. Yeah, so you can insert, or I think you can edit media here. Another, you can record media. You can insert YouTube things. You can do Kaltura. I'm sure you've done some of this in your other classes, or maybe not. But there's other ways to express beyond writing. So just be aware of that. And that's all I got to say about that.